This is NES Homebrew Part 2. So thanks for coming. I see a few familiar faces. Some of you guys were here yesterday. So we're going to take the game from yesterday. We're going to make it look and sound good, or at least a little better. So just another quick introduction. My name is Paul Molloy. I run a website called Infinite NES Lives, and I help people publish cards. I'm mostly a hardware guy. I like to make the circuit boards that go inside these cartridges and everything. And so I'm just an active member in the community of Nintendo development. So let's do another quick hand raise here. I'm not going to ask who likes the NES because I know that answer already. So who was here yesterday? Raise your hand if you were here yesterday. All right, most of you. Good. Today's goal is I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to some of these tool sets, and we're going to get some graphics and some audio into our game. There's lots of different tools. I'm not going to be showing you the only way to do this or the best way to do this. Some of this is just the easiest to get started and easiest for me to present to you guys. So we're going to, I'll give a small overview of part one, but most of you have already seen it. And then we're going to create some graphics and some audio. All right. So the NES, this is the game that we made yesterday. We have our player at the bottom here. He scrolls back and forth, and he's trying to catch game cartridges falling from the screen, and then we have our little counter that's keeping score. And then we also had some scrolling going on. That's the current state of our project when we're picking up from yesterday. So I cheated a bit since we're not focusing on the code. I don't have a completely blank slate here. I'm just going to be mostly uncommenting some of the code because we're focusing on the tools here. So first off, we want to get into the graphics here. This tool is called NES Screen Tool, and it's made by Brew, the same guy that made the library that we're using for C. And this here on the screen, we can basically, over here we see our tile set. So these are our pattern tables. This is one of our pattern tables. It's the memory that's on the cartridge. And then the big screen over here, this is what we call our name table and our attribute table. So the name table is information of which tile shows up where on the screen, and the attribute table is the colors. So first, we're going to go ahead and so also down here in this bottom corner, these are our palettes. So we have 4 palettes available, and for the background, and that's the layer that we're working on here. And these are all the colors the NES has available to it. So when we want to draw something here, we can go ahead and click on the N, letter N, and let's go ahead and select palette 1 for this. And we can just over here draw something that looks like a letter N. Okay, so this is supposed to be kind of bluish. Let's select a different color. Let's select darker. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. The color, or which indices of this palette is into this data. So you can see down here these other tiles use different members of the palette. So you have to actually change the pixels, and we'll get into that later. So we're going to go ahead and we'll draw this letter E, and we'll go ahead and use a different palette and put an S up there. Now, one thing about the NES is, you're sure where, is everything's in a grid, right? And part of that grid is the colors. So if we wanted to just change the color of one of these tiles to a different palette, we can't really do it. So if you watch over here, I'll click, try to put a green S over here, And these other tiles next to it, these 3 other guys, they're on the same palette now. So there's actually this little tool you can check. It's this attribute checker. So here you can see which attribute, this is kind of like the attribute table. So which colors are where on the screen. So this one's green, blue. And those are our choices. So anytime you're designing your artwork, you're kind of confined to a 16 pixel, which is actually 4 tiles grid. So now that we've got that, let's get this into our project. So yesterday I just had some dummy palettes. You can see those here in our PPU viewer. So here's I think the first ones, I don't remember which is which, we're going to figure out here. One of these rows is background, and one of them is sprites. So we have 2 blue palettes here. So we're going to palettes, put to the clipboard, and we can just do this as C data. So I just copied it to my clipboard. And then we can go up to the top of our file here and just paste that in. So this is just going to be a constant array that we can use further down. So let's change this to background palette. All right, so yesterday, here's our code where we set the palettes. So let's change our background. We're calling the palette update and using the tiles or the palettes that we just imported. So with that, let's go ahead. So we've got our palette data copied over now. Let's just get our name table and attribute table. So to do that, go to name table, say the name and attribute table. This is going to be one of our source files. Now we're actually going to save this as RLE. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to save it as a compressed C header file. We'll put that in our graphics folder, saving over the one that I had for testing out. So now we can include the output of that. So now we have our data imported, and this is where we're changing our palettes. But before, we just had everything cleared, and then our hello world. So we need to get rid of that hello world. We're not going to use that anymore. So we're going to bring in a full screen of data. And the way that we do this, we have to talk. We have to write to the name tables. So if we go back to our memory map here quick. So we have the 2 buses, the PPU memory bus and the CPU memory bus. So the CPU is basically trying to write to this name table up here in the top left, and this is what we're seeing on the screen. And so when it's accessing this area through the PPU as a write slave, basically, we have to make sure we do it during the PPU is not rendering. So it's already shut off here at the top. So while the screen's still not on, we're going to tell the PPU which address all this data is going to, and we just have a constant for name table A, the first one, and then VRAM on RLE. So this is just run length encoding. Because so many of these tiles are the same ones right in a row, you get a lot of compression through simple RLE that the NES can handle fairly well. So this is just, you can see this. This is the header file, and it's just a big constant array. Go ahead. There we go. So now we've got our tile data that we created. There's still our score right there. But we create our own name table and imported that. Everything else still works as before. So now that we've got that, it'll take me a while here to go in here and change these sprites and try to make something pretty. So we're going to steal some assets that Chris Parker made. Then this is part of his here's my pre-made. Okay, so we've got something that looks a bit more pretty here. You can select your different palette here and here again. So I just copied these tiles over, and we can actually do some selection. And pasting in bigger chunks here. We can grab. We try to make a building here. Whoops. You can kind of see here, I'm grabbing the wrong tile, so the grass is changing because I'm not getting it. That's where we're getting that attribute table clashing. But if you stick to the boundaries, which I'm having a hard time doing. Anyway, so there we got something. We can maybe put something that looks like windows here. Copy these tiles over. Okay, so we've got something that's kind of like a building now. So you're standing outside convention center trying to. This is the building our character's going to be sitting in front of. So now we've got something that looks a bit prettier. So we'll go ahead and save this. We're just going to save it as the same file right over that. But our code doesn't act, if we still only have these two pattern tables available, so we need to bring these tables in. And actually, already have them in the code. They're just, go back over here. You can see our palette updated. So this is our background palette. We changed it. So this one's got the gray now. So let's just go ahead and make both the background and the sprite palettes the same. Okay. So they'll all be the same palettes for background and the sprites. We saved our pretty background and exported that. And so now we want to update. Let's go ahead and bring our new banks in. So this is actually using Mapper MMC1. And this just is a quick bank switch of changing the multiple pattern tables that are available. So here we have bank 0, we're going to set it to pattern to the first, which is actually the second bank, and then the third bank. You can actually see some of this. If you look at this tool called YYCHR, you can just open an NES file, and it scrolls all the way down to where the characters are. So this is just a graphical representation of the ROM. All this garbles up here, that's our code, actually. And that's the program, and right here is where the CHR ROM starts. So this is the first bank. Here's the second bank where we have our tiles. And then we'll have our third bank where we're going to have our sprites. So what we're doing here is we're telling the mapper, okay, so for the first set of pattern tables, we want it to be bank 1, which is going to be these bricks and blocks that we have, and then for the sprites, for bank. The second pattern table we're going to use, the third one, which is going to be our sprites. So there you can kind of see that. Here, this is all you got to do is tell it which one to have. Now, the PPU has these two different pattern tables to pick from that are visible at the same time. You can tell it that you want the sprites to be on either of the pattern tables, and same thing for the background. So you can have them both pointing to the first pattern table, or you can give them separate pattern tables, which is pretty common. So we're going to tell the PPU to use pattern table 0 for the background and 1 for the sprites. And so now, let's make this, and we should be able to see all these changes we just made. There we go. So our sprites are still kind of broken because we didn't change our code, right? But we've got our background in there now. And if we look at our PPU viewer, here we can see the bank selected just like we wanted. So here's our background pattern table 1 and sprites on 2. And our palettes are all the same now. So we want to fix these sprites now that we have these new assets available to us. So we'll go into here, go ahead and open our sprites. And over here, when we're dealing with the sprites over here, we don't really care about all this name table data because we're only really fixated on the pixels over here. So this guy, so right now this palette I'm going to use for the cartridge. You can kind of see down here, I started it. Our palette's not actually updated in the tool here for what we saved earlier. So I'll update that quick, and I can just double click over here on our sprite pattern table, and here you get a little blown up view. So we can select which color we want to draw with, and here we're actually editing the tile data that are on that's on the cartridge. So this is our little bit of pixel art that we're going to do for today. So there we gave our cartridge some lines and a label. And we've actually changed some of the pixels in our pattern table. So to make those changes, because if you look over here, we don't have a cartridge here, so we went ahead and made those changes, and now we're going to export the pattern table, and we're just going to save it as sprites, which is the one that we were using. All right, so we've got our new sprite. It's not in our game yet, but it's down in this corner. So we're going to have to, the other thing that we did is we want our sprites are a little bit small here, right? And this is an 8x8 sprite. Every single sprite on the end of this is 8x8. There's a way you can make them double 8x16, but it just uses 2 sprites to do that. We're just going to stick with this. So now we have to change our player sprites, and we'll change our cartridge as well. So our player sprite right here, yesterday we were just using this was tile number 30 previously when we had our ASCII characters. Well, today, we're going to have to use 4 sprites because we don't want it to be 16 by 16. So we're keeping our X position for the first sprite. Nothing's really changing here, except we're going to have to point it to a new tile. So we're going to use these 4 tiles right here, so you can see what tile number is being displayed when we hover over it. So that's 0, 0, 0, 1, and then 1, 0, 1, 1. So the first sprite is going to be 0, 0, and then we have to pick which palette we want it to be. We're going to go ahead and make them blue. So we'll set this to the 1 1, which is the second one. And then this is the index of that 8x8 sprite. So we've changed one, we've replaced our sprite before with our new artwork, but now we have to add more sprites, so we're going to use the 4th index. Every 4 is one struct, basically, of the OAM. So for the second sprite, it's going to be, the expedition is going to be 8 to the right, so we're going to add 8 there. It's going to be the same Y position, and then we're going to use the next tile. For the third one, it's going to be the same X, but it's going to be just 8 below, so our magic number here, we just added 8 to it, and then the next tile, and the same type of thing going on here for the 4th sprite. So this updated our player, and let's go ahead and do the same type of thing for the cartridge. But I think I actually was pointing in the wrong direction. So it's going to end up here. That's where we made our edits. So that's tile CE and CF. So go ahead and change that quick. Okay, and that just continues with the indices. This ended with index 12. And then we're going 16, 20, 24, 28. So we're using up 8 of our 64 sprites that are available. Our score is not going to work as well anymore because we got rid of our ASCII tile set. So we're just going to kind of cut out the score for now. We'll come up with a different way to signify catching the cartridge later. So let's go ahead and just build this as is. Hopefully we've got it all right. Oh, we're close. So we got our player. These 4 sprites now, and it looks like my assumption on tiles was wrong because I thought B comes after C, which is obviously not true. It's D. You get up here, you forget semicolons, you forget parentheses, you forget the alphabet, and yeah. But okay, so we should have that fixed now. So the only problem with our code is our catching was revolved around 8x8 pixels, and we actually didn't quite write the code exactly how we would have wanted it. Like if he touches it like that, we want to be able to catch it. It doesn't have to be perfectly lined up. So we're just going to make a quick edit of yesterday's code. And this is just going to make the collision detection bigger. But we'll come back to that, so I kind of jumped ahead. But I think that is everything that we wanted to do for, we'll go ahead and build it and fix our cartridge there. Okay, there we go. Now we got the NES cart falling from the sky. So that's pretty much it as far as what I'm going to show you guys for the graphics of the NES. So we're looking pretty good now. Let's go ahead and move into sounding good. So one of the major, the most popular tools for this is FAMI Tracker. So I haven't really talked about the APU at all yet, the audio processing unit. So this is actually part of the CPU chip. So it's on the same silicon as the 6502. It's actually the majority of the silicon is the audio, but there's basically 5 channels on the audio processing unit. So we have 2 pulse channels, which basically look like square waves. These are the main, usually for the melody and stuff usually, and you can change the note, obviously. You can change the duty cycle. We have to start off with an instrument, create a new instrument, and then we can click on it to edit it. So there's certain things you can do here if you want your note. So here we can adjust the volume, and it starts off loud, and then it gets quiet, and then it'll end. Not all these things are available on all channels. Here's the duty cycle. So we can change the duty cycle in this way. And here we're basically just creating presets for these different instruments that we can apply to any channel. We're not going to worry too much about that. We're just going to go ahead and start writing some music here. So we select, we'll go ahead and use our first instrument, and this basically is going to just turn my keyboard, my computer keyboard, into a musical keyboard. So we'll select the first channel here. I have to turn my audio back on. We just go ahead and record here. Well, here we can, so this is, nothing's actually saving. I'm just hitting buttons on my keyboard, and I can play notes here. So go ahead and start writing things, saving things, so we can put a note here. So the first channel is going to play C. I'm not a composer by any means. I played some trombone in high school, but that was about it. Okay, so we just have a small scale there, and what's going to happen is this channel is going to play C3 for a few not measures, but I think it's like a quarter note, basically every 4, maybe it's the 8th note. Anyway, it's just going to change pitch every time it comes to this, and we can actually, if we want it to stop, we have to, this is going to just end the note. We'll see, we'll especially set it when we get to the noise channel, but we can just go ahead and play this now. Okay, there we go. We are musicians now. We have so 2 pulse channels. Lots of times people will use the first channel for the major melody of the music, and then the second pulse is maybe more of a backup, or use it for primarily for sound effects. But anytime you have sound effects, these are still only the 5 channels. So the sound effects basically have to interrupt the music to play the sound effect. So I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can design these things, but that's something to keep in mind. We have a triangle wave, and we can't change the volume on this or the duty cycle. This is commonly used as a bass line. So there, now we have some bass notes there. We'll just go ahead and stop the music here. So that's our 3rd channel, and then we have a noise channel. So this is basically like a percussion. But like you saw, it just keeps one note. Well, like percussion especially, this will just be static. It'll keep playing. You want to end that. You want that note to stop, like immediately. Or, you know, I mean, it depends on your music, whatever you want to do. But this way, it'll just play for the 1 beat there. And then this is a sample channel. So the NES is capable of playing samples. They're delta pulse code modulated, something like that. I always forget the acronym. But anyway, we're not going to deal with samples, but there is a way that, you know, like the bongos in Mario 3, those are samples. So this is, it takes up a lot of data, or some games, Blades of Steel, when you play the Blades of Steel, that's a sample, right? It's not actually using any of these channels. So now we made our little song here using a few of these channels. Okay, we're gonna stop there. All right, so that's kind of how this works, but we're gonna cheat again and use some free open source music. There's all kinds of people that are making artwork that you can use on the NES, audio, and so there's open source stuff out there that you can use. Or if you're not a musician or a graphic type, there's other people that are, and so they'll be creating their music in a tool like this, and providing to you if you're not doing it, or maybe you're the one that's creating the music and you can provide it to somebody that's programming the game. These are the tools that you're going to be using. So this is probably going to sound a lot better than what we just made. Let me go ahead and play this. There we go. So you can see here what's all going on with the different channels. We can silence these, take the percussion out, take out the bass. Here we just hear one channel. So here you can kind of hear what the different channels sound like. Oh, there it is now. There we go. So now that we've got something that sounds good, we need to get that into our project. So we do create NSF and just binary raw music data. We'll export that, and it's already in here, but we just save this into our project as music binary file here. I'm not going to save it just because I'm going to use it on my breaks. So this is already imported in our CRT 0 file. So here you can see where this inclusion is. So this is a little bit of assembly for you. So a binary file. So that's already in there. We just need to tell the APU to start playing. And there's a whole sound engine that's taking that binary data and translating it to all of the register writes that the CPU needs to make to basically play the channels that it has. And Chiru also wrote this great audio engine, Famitracker, or Famitone, and that's already in our project. We just need to call it. So to do that, we tell it which track. If you look back here we have songs. So we have song number 1, the forest, and 2, the victory loop. And all we do is music play, and then which track. So starting with 0, obviously, and we can do something. Let's go ahead and change the track if we hit. I can do that. So if we hit down in the game, we should be able to change our track down here, that other track you guys haven't heard. There we go. And right down. We got a second track. Okay. So there's our audio imported. We're going to go ahead and we can also pause it. So we can pause the music. We'll go ahead and use the select button for this. So when we hit the select button, we'll stop the music. So I don't have to talk over it the whole time. Now let's just look at the sound effects quick here. So I stole these. I think Chris might have made these. Here, you know, those says songs, but these are just small little tidbits. So here's one called Hurt. Just a little blip there. Collect a heart. Find a key. Game over. Die. And then winning. Okay, so you know you're composing these sound effects in the same way you're doing a song. It's just very small and short, right? And then you just kind of consider them as tracks. So we export these the same way. I'm not going to do that for you again. We'll just go ahead and so now our select button is going to pause the music, and we will use the down button on the controller to play the sound effect. So the first argument is the track number. So this is number 5, but they don't know how to count to start from 1. So it's actually going to be 4. And here we get to say which channel to play it on. So 0, the first, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll just play it on the second pulse channel, which is going to be channel 0. And so what do we have there? That's going to be the winning. Okay. So we can go ahead and pause the music with the select, and then down. We got our winning. All right. So we lost our score. It would be complicated to implement that in the background right now. So let's replace that instead as our so we have a sound when he catches the cartridge. So we fixed the. I jumped ahead back a while back. I fixed it so that the collision detection is better and bigger. So first we're going to see is the X of the ball, it's actually a cartridge, greater than or equal to the player minus 16. So is the cartridge from this position to the right. And then if it's to the right of about here, then we'll say is the ball to the left. Is it less than player minus 32? So this is all reference to the top left corner, the first sprite. So that would be 16 would be his far right side, and then probably have this bigger than needed. We're just going to do it. I can't do math on the fly either. And try to catch this guy. No, the edge of the screen's not very nice. There we go. So we can pause it and hear our sound effect. There we go. So now we've got our little dude at Portland Retro Gaming Expo collecting cartridges. So that's pretty much it for what I had to show you guys today. Thanks for coming, and I will just a few things for you here. So all of these talks yesterday, if you missed yesterday's or you want to see these over again, they're going to be on Portland Retro Gaming Expo's channel on YouTube in about 2 weeks, they're telling me. I'm going to get them some links to include. So yesterday, we did the programming. I showed you if you want to go all the way to assembly and take a step back from all the C programming we did. You can start with the Nerdy Nights. That's a good way to go. Even if you don't know programming, it kind of starts to teach you that. If you need to learn C, a good place to do that is on learnc.org. And then links to Shrew's site where we got a lot of these tools, and NES starter kits. So this is a really great project that's a lot of it's already done. He steps through going in and hacking stuff and adding things, adding your own assets, and kind of letting you actually see something. After a little bit of time here, I can kind of show you. So it was kind of clumsy modifying your backgrounds here. Well, there's better ways of doing it, but you can use more advanced tools, but you have to integrate them to be compatible with the NES, because inherently they aren't. So this is tiled, and Chris has all of these tools written for you that move all these convert all these assets for you. So you can go over here and just grab different meta tiles instead of grabbing them in pixel or tile by tile. Here you can just select a tile of 16, and you can draw stuff in your map a lot easier. But anyway, so there's he's got a whole project built around some more advanced tools, and uses the MMC1 mapper, and that's where we got a lot of our stuff. All the music and tile assets I got from him. There's also how to use Family Tracker. I mean, there's a whole chiptune community, but there's all kinds of things out there on how to use it. There's NESDoug.com. He kind of goes through and gives some tutorials on some of the C code that we were writing. If you kind of like the level that we've been at here, we kind of need to know more about what's going on, that's a good way to go. And so this week I'm going to get, this is my homepage here, so if you want to dig right in, I'm going to try to push this stuff on GitHub, GitLab, and just go to infinitelives.com, and I'll have at the top here, I have links, I'll have my code. You should be able to find everything out. I'll link to the Portland once those are up. Yeah, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. But all this stuff is online. You can join the community. We very welcoming, and every year we have a competition where either one person or a group of people will submit a game, and we'll judge each other, and we put them all on a cartridge. Everybody gets a copy, and we have cash prizes and everything, and it's a lot of fun. So it's been growing a lot, and we'd love to see you around if you'd like to join us. So thank you very much, guys.